stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
From Austin, Texas, the Tuesday Night NASCAR Truck Series is about to start making right turns and changing elevation here at Circuit of the Americas. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live music capital of the world, where tonight we're gathered here for the first of two races in the Lone Star State for the 2024 season. And tonight, when the green flag drops, these drivers will drown out any live music in this town. Ethan Eckert brought the checkered flag home last week at Bristol, soaring up 23 spots in our point standings. Now tonight we can see if he can be a road course whisperer here at COTA. I'm Dave Regal here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, and as always, I'm thrilled to be with you every step of the way. From the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And folks, glad to have all of you in with us tonight as we get rocking and rolling here. Of course, taking a look at qualifying being underway as we pull up the qualifying information, we can see Nicholas Breidenbach here in the number 18 Hooters Chevrolet Silverado as he turns his opening lap. Claude Ferland, our neighbor from the north, in the 43, doing the same thing. Most of these drivers still on their outlaps. Of course, it's a very long way around this racetrack. We'll take a look here at the race info. This racetrack, 3.36 miles long. It takes about 2 minutes and 20 seconds to get around here in the truck series. As 68 degrees in the stand, 83 on the asphalt as we get rocking and rolling. Ethan Eckert, Gabriel Lafreniere, Jacob Fifield, Tane Hodgson, they're all out on track right now. Stoney Benfield just hopping into the old 75 F-150, sponsored by NC811.org. And like I said, folks, glad to have all of you with us tonight as we finally get underway here. Our last night at Circuit of the Americas, and, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you I'm glad to see it. You know, road course racing is exciting. It has its place, but by the end of 3 days of this, I am just this side of exhausted as we take a look here at the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield, getting the F-150 warmed up. We're going to see him come down this hill right here. Or not. Maybe he just reset himself. He did. So, as he's going to have to take another run at that. Tony Burt here in the number 4 Chevrolet Silverado, sponsored by Nitro and Jack Dow Motorsports, getting it done as he's on his outlap. Claude Ferland laying his first lap down. He's just getting up to speed now as he comes here into the S's. And this, to me, is just one of the coolest parts of any racetrack. You know, when you have these S little sections here, and this is just my humble opinion, as of course he gets out of there way too fast. My humble opinion is it just is a lot of fun to drive. It reminds me of a backcountry road, you know, on a Sunday afternoon, and that's what we see here as these drivers wheel it through. Ethan Eckert in the 11, he's getting all wound up with that Verizon 5G speed as he heads on down toward turn number 10 on his qualifying effort here, ripping right past us. We're going to see him come into this hairpin turn, and folks, let me just tell you, this is something incredible to watch these drivers get through. It's something that we've seen time and time again. Now, where Ethan Eckert is currently going down that straightaway, it changes elevations. You can get a crazy amount of speed built in there. And the hardest thing is now exactly where he is coming into what Matt Metler and I have affectionately named the safety pin turn, because it's not a complete hairpin, but it looks more like a safety pin. As he takes that curb, he's getting himself here about 3/4 of a way through that lap. Stoney Benfield's decided to stay on pit road. I don't necessarily blame him. Tony Burt here, currently about 2/10 of the way through his lap. Then we see Gabriel Lafreniere, who's already finishing up that first lap now. So Gabriel Lafreniere, as he rolls out of the final turn, crossing the start-finish line, he'll be our first driver to record a lap here. And as he does, he goes 2 minutes 15 seconds, so slightly faster than some of the speeds that we saw last night, but Jacob Schneider just annihilated that time as Schneider comes around and goes up the hill. And you know, we saw it a moment ago, and maybe Schneider won't disappoint me like Stoney did a minute ago. We see Schneider coming down the hill here, and as he enters into the S's, and of course now I lost it already. As he enters into the S's, he's just going to gracefully get through here and work that Ford F-150, the Hard Rock in Tampa Bay 02 around these turns. Taking a look at our season standings, Tane Hodgson sitting atop the pile as he still has no wins. In fact, your top 3 in points right now have no wins. With 136, we actually have a tie right now as Brandon Minto from Norman, Oklahoma, crawled into that top spot along with Tane Hodgson. Each of those drivers having 136 raw points. Of course, the bonus points not figured into these statistics. We'll get those to you next week as Sylvain Joly, our neighbor from the north, he's running in third right now. Stoney Benfield with his first win of the season. He's actually the highest ranked driver with a win so far in our point standings. Mitchell Davies, Rich Jett, Michael Astuto, Chris Claude, Jeremy Paris and Ethan Eckert, as I had just mentioned. He jumped up 23 spots and now sits inside the top 10 of our points. And I'll tell you what, just 90 total points, but that win will do a lot for him, especially as we head into the postseason. Of course, we've got a couple of other drivers with wins here. Jeremy Paris being one of the other drivers. So the season is young. Jacob Fifield with a win sits right now in 21st position. He dropped 5 spots last week, but it's interesting to see what the wins can do. It's not about winning. It's about turning those laps, getting through these races, and being consistent. You can win a championship in this league if you have enough top 5s, top 10s, laps turned, the whole schmear, and, keep yourself up there and competitive. Of course, the easiest way to get into the playoffs is to punch that ticket with a win, but some drivers decide to do it the hard way. Speaking of doing it the hard way, here's Mitchell Davies in the RFK Castrol F-150. He's finishing up lap number 2. The first lap was 2 minutes, 16 seconds, .22. As he comes out of the final turn here onto the front stretch, we're going to see where Davies winds up as he crosses the start-finish line, and he goes slightly faster at 2 minutes, 15 seconds, .56. Richard Pruitt coming off the track now. Ron Fitting and Tony Burt just finishing their second laps. As Tony Burt's got about half a lap to the end. Jacob Fifield not able to record a loggable lap, as that means he probably stepped off track just a little bit. Chris Claude negated the first lap by going off track. Now we get to see if he was able to do it a second time. He does, and logs a 2 minute 23 second .32. So he's literally 10 seconds off of our pole sitter, Jacob Schneider, here in the 0-2. Fifield, and here comes Stoney Benfield, the faster pastor. I want to welcome everybody into the YouTube.com live chat. Of course, we call him the faster pastor because he is. You can check him out down there in North Carolina. Of course, here we are in the middle of Holy Week. We're going to get a chance to talk with Pastor Benfield before we get rocking and rolling here. As we see Tony Burt right now running green, that color still staying that way, sitting in 19th position. Jacob Fifield in 92. He's doing a little bit better through this segment of the racetrack, so maybe Fifield and Stoney are going to get pretty good runs here, as Fifield ran very slow in that first segment. Looking for Jacob Schneider in the YouTube.com live chat. He's not there, but let's take a minute here and we'll chat with Ethan Eckert, who, as we mentioned a moment ago, picked up the win last week and climbed up 23 spots in the point standings. Hey, Ethan, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I do got you.
Hey, man, listen, a great run last week netted you the checkered flag. Now here we are, settling in for road course racing. What are you thinking as you get ready to go road course racing?
To hopefully not get DQ'd. That's all. That's what I want. I'm not good at road courses, so yeah.
Yeah, road courses are kind of an acquired taste, if you will, as warm-up is now being started here. And, I just want to say that, for somebody like you who does so well on the short tracks like you did last week at Bristol, this is going to be a completely different animal. But you get to look forward to next week at Richmond as we go short track racing again. How are you feeling as we get ready to go to Virginia?
Richmond, I haven't raced there too much in the past, so I'd be able to answer that better next week. But I think I should do all right. I'm not too bad at short tracks, so yeah.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congrats on the win last week. Good luck tonight here at Circuit of the Americas, and maybe we'll see you here on the other side.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now we're going to get a chance, hopefully, to talk to, as we send Ethan on back up into his race chat, into Joe Gibbs. We're going to get a chance right now to talk with Jacob Schneider, who sits on the pole tonight. Hey, Jacob, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Gotcha. How's it going?
Man, it's good. Listen, you net yourself the pole position tonight here in the O2. What are you thinking as, we get ready to turn right?
Just hoping to survive turn one. I know it gets clogged up there, and somebody from 10 rows back could possibly miss it and take out the leaders. So that's my first concern. And then after that, it's just be smooth. Don't make any mistakes.
Yeah, something that I saw a couple of nights ago watching another race on Sim Racing Media was if you get yourself a really good launch on the initial start or a restart, you as long as you get yourself ahead of that group and set yourself right, it's not that bad on the restart. But, to your point, somebody 10 rows back can come through like they've got a V plow, and next thing you know, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and the official races, they kind of let the leaders start wherever they want. But, we have more similar to real-world rules in this league, so I got to wait till the green comes out. So won't really have as much of a chance to get that jump.
Well, listen, what's going to be your strategy tonight to try to get her done here at COTA?
I think keep the truck straight, keep the rear tires cool, and just have some fun.
All right, man. Well, congrats on the pole, and maybe we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Thank you, sirs. We're going to get one more chance here to talk with Stoney Benfield, a couple of minutes here before this race gets underway as we move Jacob down here. Now we're going to search for Stoney in the Ferta Motorsports stable. Hey, Pastor, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Sure do, Dave. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I am wonderful, celebrating Holy Week, of course, with Palm Sunday on just a couple of days ago, and here we are now, right in the midst of everything. How goes the pastor's schedule as we head for Resurrection Sunday?
Well, we're looking forward to a great weekend, and we'll have a big day on Sunday, and then hopefully have a lot of new folks and guests. And man, we're going to preach the resurrection of Jesus.
Absolutely. The hardest thing that I've always found in churches, you get all those people in for C&E, Christmas and Easter. It's a matter of keeping them in the pews after they come for that one Sunday.
Yeah, a lot of folks just come for that time, and so what we do, we just try to share the gospel and trust God to do the work in somebody's heart. And if He ever gets inside of them, they'll go to church somewhere.
Absolutely. Well, listen, another thing, I don't know if you heard Chris Claude's pre-race announcements, but John Crow will not be in tonight's race. If you could add his daughter to your guys' prayer list down there, I know that she's already on ours. I just sent the email out a little while ago. It sounds like we need to be keeping that little lady in our prayers for sure.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but Brandon, my teammate, told me about it, and we'll be praying for John's daughter. What's up with her?
From what I understand from this message that I got from Chris earlier, she's been diagnosed with a severe autoimmune disorder, and right now they're in Winston-Salem, so actually pretty close to you.
Yeah.
And they're at the Ronald McDonald House right now, staying there while she gets her first treatment.
Sure. Well, we'll sure do that. Appreciate all you do for us, Dave, in this league to broadcast it and to give folks a chance to watch.
Absolutely. Listen, it's always a joy, especially when your congregation starts to check in with me. It makes me feel right at home. So, one of these days I'm going to get down there to North Carolina, and I'll be sitting right there in the pew. Trust me, it's going to happen.
I can't wait for that to happen, Dave. That'll be great. Happy resurrection to you, buddy.
I was telling my dad a joke I was telling him a funny anecdote. I said, it's interesting. I travel to Florida for spring training. I'm going to San Diego for baseball. I can go everywhere for baseball. What's wrong with trying to go to North Carolina for church?
That's exactly right. We'd love to have you sometime.
I told him, I said, when I go to San Diego for the Padres later this year, I said, I plan on going to Shadow Mountain Community Church where David Jeremiah preaches. I said, I want to be strapped in right there in the sanctuary. I said, so at least that way I don't feel as guilty just going for baseball.
That's good, Dave. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, my friend. Listen, God bless you, and have a good race tonight.
Yes, thank you.
As we're going to send him back up into the Ferta Motorsports. Looks like everybody's starting to saddle up here in the cars. We're going to get ready for green flag racing here. We'll take a quick peek at all of our qualifiers tonight as everybody is hopping into the cars on time for a change. That's always helpful. As we see Jacob Schneider going to be our pole sitter. We see Mitchell Davies here in third. Some other big names as far as Gabriel Lafreniere, Tane Hodison, Ethan Eckert buried back in 12th. So we're going to get a chance here to take a look at everybody as we get ready to rock and roll from above. Jacob Schneider from Greenville, South Carolina. He will be your pole sitter tonight and joined on the front row by Gabriel Lafreniere from St. Jude. Brandon Minto out of Norman, Oklahoma, starts on the inside of row number 2, joined by Mitchell Davies. Row 3 going to feature Paul Hill and Nicholas Casey, while Nicholas Breidenbach and Sylvain Jolie will be in row number 4. Row 5 going to have Tane Hodison and Ray Ferreira, as Hodison out of Brunswick, Maine, one of our most far north people in the United States, of course, not like our Canadian brethren. Ethan Eckert and Daniel Moynihan, not related to Bobby Moynihan, I assume, in row number 6. Row 7 going to be Benjamin Garrity and Claude Ferlin. Jamie Beasley and Ron Fitting in row number 8, while Chris Claude and good old Tony Burt going to be in row number 9. Jacob Fifield from Horseheads, New York, and the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield, who we just heard from, going to be in row number 10, while Rich Jett and Gregory Valad going to be in row number 11. Row 12 going to have Steve Herring and Randall Watkins, while John Wilco and Alexander Gangler holding things together in row number 13, and starting shotgun on the field tonight out of Ohio, Mr. Chris Custer. Here in the 66, Richard Pruitt looks like he's going to be starting from pit road. So 28 drivers when we take the green flag tonight, 42 laps the scheduled distance. We'll have stage breaks tonight at laps number 12 and 26, if I understood correctly from our race notes. And then, of course, at the conclusions of 12 and 26, then we will go to the end on lap number 42. So Jacob Schneider leading us around this piece. The iRacing.com pace car has dove off. The only thing that's left to do is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, one last night here at COTA. Race fans, it's show time. Just as we had talked about, Jacob Schneider trying to get a good jump over everybody as he makes it through turn number 1, so he has already overcome that first little fear, as it looks like Ron Fitting and everybody else may be running into some kind of problems. We see this field come down through turn number 2, and as we get ready to head on into the S's, we're going to see Jacob Schneider leading this crew through here. And I'll tell you what, already it is a fierce battle here with Chris Claude. Whoa, side by side they go. All but 3 wide through the S's. Stoney Benfield already up 6 positions as he comes out of the S's, battling right alongside of Claude Ferlin and the 49 of Jamie Beasley in the Menards Ford F-150. This league has gotten very forward thinking, as just a couple of Toyotas and a couple of Chevrolets, everybody else in the blue oval tonight, as Schneider hauls it down here out of turn number 10, down toward the what we call the safety pin. And this is where we're going to see a lot of the action here. We're going to ride along right now with Schneider. He's going to have to get this car woed up as he comes here into the safety pin turn. Schneider does it darn near perfectly to get on through there. Many of these other drivers going to have to be working their tails off to get through here, as we see Tane Hodison. And a lot of this traffic can get bogged up here as they all make it through nice and safe. Schneider now opening up a 1.4 second lead over Lafreniere. Things getting tight, though, for Rich Jett as they come through here out of the arena and into the carousel. As we get right here in the arena, gonna be interesting. Rich Jett now putting some distance behind himself. All of a sudden, it looks like Alexander Gangler wants to battle it out with Ron Fitting here in the 8. The 8 and the 3 going at it side by side. Whoa, a little flinch from Gangler as he runs on through. Now he's going to weave his way back here toward the front section of the racetrack. We're somewhere in here and around turn number 20. There he is coming for the final turn and back onto the front stretch. And as they cross the start-finish line here to begin lap number 2, looks like Jacob Schneider going to be your race leader once again. So Schneider now nice and comfy up here. This is where he's going to be able to make his money. I mean, he's got to be able to sit up here, hit those marks, do what he has to do to get through as we ride along in his truck, going through that uphill battle toward turn 10, and as we crest the top of the hill, this is where a lot of momentum gets built into these trucks. Schneider with good braking distance coming into the hairpin, makes that hard, very left turn, and now shoots his way back down the straightaway. Once again, as he heads for the safety pin turn here, Brandon Minto doing the same thing. You can see the elevation change here and what it does to the suspensions of these trucks. We're going to ride along right here on the front end, and we're going to see him just get on the binders. Now he's going to have to get himself woed down, work his way through this turn, and now all of a sudden you can see the whole front end of the truck lift right up as he gets, there it is. You can see it's almost like sitting on a seesaw. The Ferda Motorsports number 12 Kraft Macaroni and Cheese machine looking a little bit like a seesaw as he's on the throttle and off the throttle. We see Ron Fitting having crashed. Let's take a look. I can almost guarantee that this is coming into the safety pin, as Fitting just happened to slow down slow enough that it makes timing and scoring think that he crashed. We'll take a look here at Tony Burt, who may also have gone off track here. Let's see what happens as he works his way through. And there's our first victim of the hairpin of the evening, Tony Burt. So unfortunately, not a very easy transition to make here at Circuit of the Americas. We're just outside of Austin, Texas. And, you know, I mentioned it earlier. It looks like Tony Burt's had another incident here. We're going to see old Tony in the A Lot Cleaner Nitro Jack Dow. Whoa! There goes the rear end. It's, oh. He manages to keep it off the wall. Fortunately, there's a lot of buffer zone here to getting through some of these areas. So not the end of the world for sure. As Jacob Schneider just laid fast time down at 2 minutes 14.91 seconds. He's the first driver to crack that 2 minutes 14 seconds. Gabriel Lafreniere at 2 minutes 58, 2 minutes 15:58. As we take a look here at the lap times between Schneider and Lafreniere. Now, of course, we can see here that Lafreniere just 2 laps, you know, officially in the books, running a little bit more than a half second slower than Schneider. So he's got a lot of work to do. We can see that today. We'll also take a look back here at Claude Ferland, who leads Jacob Fifield. Now, Fifield running about 3 seconds faster, so he's going to have some interesting challenges moving up here. As we take a look at the time delta, we can see Ferda, you know, all of a sudden just having Fifield right there in the rear view mirror, which is something that, you know, he went from nice and comfy to, wow, this guy is close to me, here on lap number 3. So things starting to settle out here among most of our drivers. Benjamin Garrity here in the 65 works his way around Chris Custer in the Tide machine. And we come into the carousel. And right now, it's not like they're fighting one another, but they're certainly not making it easy for one another. Looks like another incident here at the bottom. I don't want to embarrass Tony Burt one more time, as it looks like Garrity and Custer are going to come off of the backstretch. And out here onto the front stretch in front of the bleachers, side by side they go here into turn number 1. This is going to be interesting to see how they get through here. Somebody's got to be able to get out of the way, and all of a sudden it's going to be Custer as they come down toward turn 2. This is an interesting downhill segment of the racetrack. I mean, there is a lot of elevation change here. This isn't, you know, the kind of graceful up and downs that Sonoma gives you. It's incredibly violent, you know, from top to bottom. A little bit like Watkins Glen, where you have a huge downhill segment after a nice graceful uphill. This is really high up, really high down, and then you kind of, you know, roll around a country road the rest of that 3.5 miles. As we take a look here, Claude Ferlin registering as having crashed. We see him here in the 43 Axon LED Toyota Tundra. Oh, he makes contact and gets turned around. The 6 of Ray Ferreira able to squirt around him. And he throws a little donut here and gets back underway, of course, as Stoney Benfield works his way on by. Rich Jett also getting credit for going off track here. We'll see what happened. I'm guessing there it is. Oh, just a little bit of damage there. It's almost like bumper trucks. My God. That's not necessary, I don't think. Definitely something they didn't want to deal with. As it looks like now all of a sudden Custer is going to have to drag himself back to pit road. We'll take a look right here. We can hear him not able to get those RPMs up. He may wind up blowing the engine before making it all the way back. Smoke just pouring out the rear end of the 66 Tide Downey machine. A tip of the cap, of course, to the great Darrell Waltrip. Jacob Schneider, though, now opening up a 7-second lead over Gabriel Lafreniere. And Lafreniere trying to hold off Paul Hill. And I mean, Hill just 3 seconds behind, 3/4 of a second behind him from Jacksonville, Florida. Trying to find a way. It's, you know, at this point, I feel like Paul Hill may be driving a little bit too aggressively to try to catch up to Lafreniere. As we can see that he's taking some of these turns a little bit more carelessly, as he thought he saw an entry there coming out of the S's. Now he's decided to just try to match Lafreniere step for step. Get yourself up there, get yourself closer, and then make your attack. Mitchell Davies here in the number 20 Ford F-150, trying to also get up here to Paul Hill while we take a look at Nicholas Breidenbach holding off Tane Hodison. Paul Hill in the 04 still holding off Mitchell Davies. They're getting closer here. Some of that time is starting to evaporate as they're at about 0.6 of a second. They were at 3/4 of a second, so it's slowly but surely coming together now for Davies to catch on to Paul Hill's rear bumper there on the tailgate. We're going to take a peek and see what happened with Gregory Valade, as he was back here in 34th position. There it is, coming down toward the safety pin turn. And just punts. Running through the field right now, it's Jacob Schneider here in the 02. He leads Gabriel Lafreniere by 7.85 seconds, nearly 8 seconds total now. Lafreniere ahead of Paul Hill. Paul Hill, Mitchell Davies running in 4th, and Brandon Minto making up your top 5. Nicholas Casey in 6th position, Sylvain Joly in 7th, Nicholas Breidenbach in 8th, Tane Hodison in 9th, and Ethan Eckert running in 10th position. And folks, I do want to encourage you that at the conclusion of tonight's race, we will be having a group prayer for, of course, one of our drivers, as I was looking at something else, one of our drivers, John Crow, he's not able to make tonight's race because he is at the Ronald McDonald House in Winston-Salem with his daughter. His daughter is being diagnosed with a severe autoimmune disorder, and they're up there for their first treatment. So they've been there since Friday. So the family is going through a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety right now, of course, with all of this fear coming toward us. So we ask everyone to keep his 3-year-old daughter and his family in their prayers, as it's been a lot of distracted driving since the beginning of the season due to this. And, you know, we know that he would just appreciate the thoughts and prayers that we can all offer in support of his 3-year-old daughter. And believe me, as a as a proud father of three wonderful children. Not that I've lost count, but I kind of did for a moment. I can't imagine what John is growing through tonight and every night as they deal with this. Many of us take for granted that our children are born happy, healthy, with 10 fingers, 10 toes, and smart as a whip. So when something like an autoimmune disorder, comes about, it is just earth-shaking, and it can be faith-shaking. So we need to make sure that we lift John up in our prayers and support him in any way that we can. And of course, always, this is something that I've done for a long time. The Ronald McDonald House, of course, gives families of children who have, diseases and problems and so on and so forth, a place to stay when, the treatment itself is too far away, and, offers them, literally a house, a hotel room, whatever it happens to be. And, it's a great organization. A friend of mine had been, the beneficiary of that years ago, and, I just think that it's fantastic. So the next time you're at the McDonald's drive-thru and you pay with cash, for those of us that use cash, I don't know anybody that does, but make sure you drop that change there into the Ronald McDonald House donation box and continue to fund that incredible program. Taking a look now at Stoney Benfield here in the 75 as he was about to battle it out here with Benjamin Garrity. They come into the hairpin, and Stoney really had to slow down to almost nothing to be able to get through that safety pin as he heads on over to the arena and then on to the carousel. And while all of that goes on, we're going to step aside here and take our first break of the night. I'm Dave Regal. You're watching Sim Racing Media, and this is Tuesday Night NASCAR.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
laps later. Masker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As that's still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler, or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas, just outside of Austin, Texas. Dave Riegel with you here in the Tuesday Night NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight and spending your evening with us. As, of course, well, all of a sudden the intro music wanted to play again. That's always fun. But wanted to thank everybody for making us a part of your evening as always. It's always a joy when we all get to spend some time together here on the racetrack. Lap number 10 in the books already as we take a look at our race leader, Jacob Schneider here. He's got a 15-second lead over Gabriel Lafreniere. And he hasn't started lapping the field naturally yet, but it's coming as we're here toward the end of stage number 1, about 3 to go now. About 2 1/4 laps now. As Schneider, Lafreniere, and Davies lead the way. Mitchell Davies has about 1.02 seconds, so just about an even time back there. Tane Hodison, though, he's still trying to duke it out just ahead of Jacob Fifield. And Fifield in the 93 is starting to lurk right up behind Nicholas Breidenbach. So some of this action starting to cool off as, you know, not a whole lot of urgency here in stage number 1. Get used to the way that truck feels as you work your way on through. And believe me, in my humble opinion, it's not that big of a deal, that's for sure. As, you know, we try to work our way through this race. And I was talking about it just a few moments ago, of course, thinking about one of our drivers, and we've got a special ad here for all of you later on in the race, so we'll be checking that out together as we go on through this evening's race. So don't always bail when we go to commercial, that's for sure, as that'll be coming up during stage number 2. Paul Hill here in the 04 Grease Monkey Chevrolet Silverado, running right now in 5th position. We look back once again to Tane Hodison running in 9th. Now, of course, the top 10 here all going to be awarded bonus points when we get to the end of the stage. So, you know, of course, 10 points going to first place, 9 points to second, and so on, back to 10th, where you'll get 1 bonus point. So, you know, that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on for sure, especially, you know, while we have such a small distance between Hodison and Fifield. However, there's then 16 seconds all the way back to Ray Ferreira in 11th. So, obviously, right now, the top 10 pretty well locked in, barring anything, let's just say, catastrophic, if you will. But Stoney Benfield and Jamie Beasley trying to race side by side with one another. This will keep it exciting for these guys as they run through here. Of course, Stoney here in the number 75 NC811.org F-150. Taking a peek here at the YouTube.com live chat, Vivian Minto. Yes, Vivian, Brandon is racing in this, and right now Brandon running in 4th position out of Norman, Oklahoma, driving the Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Ferta Motorsports F-150. So there's a quick look for you there, Vivian, at Brandon. Of course, Brandon usually joined watching these races, or being watched in these races by Uncle Scott, tipping back the old Miller Lights, as we've gotten to know that so many times over the last couple of years here together. But we're here on lap number 12 now, final lap of stage number 1. And Jacob Schneider trying to work his way through here. Randall Watkins registering a crash. Let's take a look and see what happened with Randall. We see him, and it looks like already we can tell that this is coming down into the safety pin turn. There's just a lot of speed built up into these racing machines, and it's easy to do exactly what Randall just did. You know, you don't brake early enough, you don't get that truck woed down enough, and next thing you know, you wind up off track and getting a little 2Xer. Tony Burt stepping off track once again. We'll see what happened here with him as he blinked out for a second, just second. Tony, I don't know what's going on with the old connection there, but it may not be good. Hopefully that's not me. That's probably you. Let's hope so, as it's just one car on the track. Meanwhile, Gregory Valade in the 34 Toyota Tundra runs down the backstretch. And we're going to see the same thing here as he just overshoots and gets himself way too slow at that point. It registers as a wreck. And then we're going to see something similar maybe, as Jacob Schneider working his way about a quarter lap left here in the stage. As we take a peek here from the S's section of the racetrack, we can see all the way across to where he is, as he's just coming in here to the final section of the racetrack. Jacob Schneider, a dominant force this evening so far. He sat on the pole position. In fact, your top 4 this evening have already stayed exactly where they were, 1, 2, 3, 4. As Jacob Schneider comes back onto the front stretch, he passes the DRS sign, crosses the start-finish line, and captures the green and white checkered flag here to end stage number 1. It's going to be Jacob Schneider, then Gabriel Lafreniere, Mitchell Davies, Brandon Minto, Nicholas Casey, Paul Hill, Sylvain Jolie, Jacob Fifield, Tane Hodison, and Nicholas Breidenbach. Now, you know, of course, we don't throw that caution flag until the 10th place truck crosses the start-finish line. What makes that really difficult here is that when the 10th place truck crosses, now you're kind of sitting there watching going, okay, Jacob Schneider's already, you know, a quarter of a lap into his next lap. And there it is as Breidenbach comes out of the final turn and comes onto the front stretch. So 10 bonus points going to go to Jacob Schneider, 9 to Gabriel Lafreniere, and so on for Davies, Minto, Casey, Hill, Jolie, Fifield, Hodison, and Breidenbach as we conclude stage number 1. Hopefully we can get a chance to talk here to Jacob Schneider, who won stage 1. If you're listening to the broadcast, Jacob, hop on in there to the Discord so we can chat. And because I'm curious to see how the... Oh, there he is. Hey, Jacob, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
Listen, it's fine for me, but not near as good as it's going for you. I mean, a dominant performance in stage 1 already. How's the O2 Hard Rock machine handling?
Oh, it's great. I got this Ryko.gg set up, and it kind of just drives itself. I'm just kind of pointing it in the right direction.
Well, that's a blessing in and of itself, of course, as you know, you just ran 12 laps, of course, fastest lap of the race at 2 minutes 14 seconds 91. You know, what are you thinking as far as stage 2 goes? It looks like the top 4 you all stayed exactly where you qualified. You know, is this some type of orchestration, or, you know, I mean, were you just able to gap them that easily?
They hung with me for a lap or two, and then I just like slowly pulled away. I felt like so. Yeah, I hope the same thing. Wouldn't be surprised if one of them step up with some more pace to start the second stage, though.
What do you think your strategy is going to be here for 2? Same deal. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I'm not changing a thing.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congrats on the stage 1 win, and maybe we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you. Hope to talk to you again. .14 laps in the books, as stage 2 going to be shorter than stage 1, of course, just simply because of, you know, math and the fact that the laps have to tick off the way that they do. Jacob Schneider going to be our race leader coming into the pits as they come up and over the hill on turn number 10. 7, 8, 9, and 10 very quick to get through here. We're going to try to get a hold of Brandon Minto, who, of course, we saw that Vivian was talking about him in our YouTube.com live chat. Let's see if we can get a hold of old Brandon from the Ferda Motorsports stable. Here comes Brandon. Hey, Brandon, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
That's Dave.
Hey, man, listen, running in 4th right now. You're exactly where you started this race. I mean, you know, how is the 12 truck handling, and what's going to be, you know, our focus point here in stage 2?
The focus of stage 2 is definitely going to be trying to save the rear tires. Around lap 8 or 9 of that stage, anytime I started even thinking of touching the gas pedal, the back end was wanting to come out on me. So I feel like the rear tire wear is a lot more than what I've been used to throughout the week. So especially even after last night, like, I felt like tire wear wasn't too terribly bad. Last night, I never felt like getting on the throttle is making me loose in the Xfinity cars, but I'm definitely getting very loose, especially out of like a turn 11, which is like the last place you want to have like a bad turn exit because it's leading to that long straight. So definitely going to try to focus on saving the rear tires for the first few laps and then maybe trying to turn it up a little bit later.
Yeah, you know, these trucks don't have a whole lot of weight there in what would normally be a bed. in a pickup truck. So, sometimes a little extra ballast back there, not a bad thing. And I saw a lot of people having the rear end dance away from them. So you're not the only one. But right now, track temperature 96 degrees. So you're right there on that, is it too hot to start slip sliding around, or is it, tight enough for grip? So, good luck to you out there, man. I know that you've got your work cut out for you.
All right, thanks, Dave.
And just as a little housekeeping note, looks like you've got a new fan in the YouTube.com live chat, Vivian here, asking if you're racing in this. I let her know there. Yes, you are, and you're up here in fourth. So congrats, man.
That's my mom.
Ain't that cute?
Mom, I'm glad you're checking in.
Does Mom tip back the Miller Lights like Uncle Scott, or no?
No, she actually judges me for, especially on like OU game days when we have an 11 a.m. kickoff and I'm cracking them open at 6. She's like, "Now, Brandon, what you doing that for?"
It's
and
behind every case of Miller Lite is a woman. Behind every case of Miller Lite is a woman with her arms crossed across her chest, shaking her head in disapproval. Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah, I definitely love her, though. I'm glad she's tuning in.
All right, bro. Listen, good luck the rest of the way. We'll see what happens.
All right, thanks, Dave.
That, of course, the great Brandon Minto, driver the number 12. Of course, a dominant driver in the Xfinity Series. Now taking his turn here at the wheel in the Truck Series as we get him moved up here into the Ferda Motorsports stable. We're going to try to get a hold of Chief Cook and Bottle Washer Chris Claude, driving the number 10 Toyota Tundra. Hey, Chris, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
I'm here, Dave.
Chris, you're running an 18th right now in the number 10 Monster Energy Tundra. How's the truck handling, and what do you think Stage 2 is going to hold for you?
Woo, it's been slippery. I don't know about what the other guys have been looking like on the broadcast, but it's like driving on ice tonight in these trucks, and it wasn't that way in the Cup or the Xfinity cars. So I don't know if it's just something, the weight of the back of the truck is just like a pendulum just swinging back and forth, but yeah, it's very out of control when you get too far down the throttle. At least I am. I'm sure some of these guys were able to handle it, but that may be an explanation if you see more guys than usual getting, loose, even just going around the corners.
Yeah, it's definitely something we just talked to Brandon Minto about it. He's having the same condition, and right now track temperature 96 degrees. That seems to be kind of like that magic line where it's just cool enough that it's not too slick. Any more than 96, and all of a sudden you start talking about slip sliding around. Any cooler than 96, and you're like, hey, listen, I got enough grip here to hold me onto the asphalt.
Yeah, and it's really surprising because, at least for what the weather looked like, it looked like it was going to be about 73 and kind of cloudy, and those clouds have broken up, and we're getting a lot of sunshine, and that has consequently changed the conditions pretty drastically, I think, from what people might have expected.
Well, and interestingly enough, you mentioned the clouds. Now, I know that in the iRacing public servers, of course, we're going to start being able to have rain. What's your feeling on rain here in a league like this? Are you going to be able to enable that, depending on the dynamic weather? Or is that something you're still going to keep away from these drivers?
It's not even an option. If it were an option, then we would try it out in some practice sessions just to make sure that it's going to not cause any issues. But I absolutely would not have a problem running, or at least having the chance of running. It would all be random, just like everything. The weather is always random, so if there's a chance of rain and it rains, then everybody just needs to be, prepared for that in case it does. Just like, but I don't think there's a lot of tracks that would hit all the road courses. I think would be eligible. There's a few short tracks in the mix also, but it's just not something, at least for the NASCAR vehicle tire models. I don't think that they have it worked out yet. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer. Some people think it may be next year or longer before we're able to see that, which is disappointing since they hyped it up and everything. But it is pretty interesting to do in the other cars, though, the sports cars.
Absolutely. Well, all right, man. Listen, good luck, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way. Maybe you can start clawing forward. As here you are after the pit cycle, you claw your way up into 16th position. So. Listen, slow and steady wins the race, and you are Mr. Consistency. So
I have finished better in each race from Cup to Xfinity last night. So if I can just continue to get closer to a top 10 finish, then I'd be ecstatic. But it's just nice to be able to at least stay on the lead lap at a road race, which is something I struggle with early on.
Well, trust me, I absolutely get it. That's why some of us decided to crawl up here to the broadcast booth and get out from behind the wheel. So good luck the rest of the way, my friend, and we'll see what happens here in this race.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
That, of course, the voice of the great Chris Claude, chief cook and bottle washer in the SNN family of racing series. And when I say family of racing series, I genuinely mean it. Well, it looks like Alexander Gangler's decided to go out to the lead. But this is interesting. He came down on lap number 9, the only driver to come down early for, not for having an accident or anything, as the iRacing.com pace car light turns out, which means we'll be going back green flag racing as we're 1 to go to green. But when I say the SNN family of racing series, I mean a lot of these drivers, they're spending 2 and 3 nights together on the racetrack. So some of these drivers are spending more time here on the iRacing.com servers than they do with their own families, in a given evening after work or school or whatever they have to do. So, a lot of time spent together, develop some really cool relationships, and, some of us went from knowing one another in real life and coming to iRacing, and other folks on iRacing, suddenly coming together in real life the other direction, which is something that we, of course, foster here at Sim Racing Media. And, if you're interested in joining the Sim Racing Media family, you can always check us out over on Facebook, send us a message. It's an incredible group of people here at SRM, and, of course, management is always incredible as well. So, if you've got a curiosity about broadcasting, if you want to learn how to be the best here at the microphone, reach out to us. Let us know, if you're interested, and if you are, we'll absolutely take it from there and work it out together. So, a great team here at SRM. Lap number 16 now. It'll be lap 17 when we go back green flag racing. We'll be working our way toward lap number 26. So there will be 10 laps to go in stage number 2 once the green flag flies. Alexander Gangler leading the way, followed by Jacob Schneider, Gabriel Lafreniere, Mitchell Davies, Nicholas Casey, and Brandon Minto. Jacob Fifield, Sylvain Jolie, Ray Ferreira, and Tane Hodison, your top 10. Taking a look from high above here, 2 by 2 go the cars. We are racked, stacked, and ready to go all over again as the iRacing.com pace car leads us down to the safety pin turn. Dave Regal here in the Tony Trapassa Memorial Broadcast booth just outside the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Of course, not a whole lot of Pennsylvanians in tonight's race, but check out Sundays and Mondays. It seems like we are just littered with people from the Keystone State. John Wilco out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania, one of our PA guys tonight. But that's just about it as I look through everybody else. Not sure where the rest of the Keystoners are, but Alexander Gangler right now out of Big Rock, Illinois, in the number 8 Mountain Dew Throwback Toyota Tundra leading the way. It goes Toyota, then Ford, Toyota. So no Chevrolets in the top 5 here as we get ready to go again. We work our way through the safety pin turn. The iRacing.com pace car leading us through here as we get moving. Restart zone will be in effect this time as Chris Claude calling out some last minute rules adjustments for Alexander Gangler. Gangler being led around by the iRacing.com pace car that now peels down pit road. Just a turn and a half left here as we come through the first, the second, and now we aim our way back toward the front stretch. So grab some popcorn, call a friend, settle in. Stage 2 racing is green flag right here on Sim Racing Media. Jacob Schneider already out to a commanding lead once again, blowing the doors off of Alexander Gangler. He's going to lead Mitchell Davies up here into second position. And he's starting to gap Mitchell Davies now by 3/4 of a second as we work our way through turn number 10. The field coming through nice and clean, nothing major going on as we do see Ethan Eckert stepping off track. We spoke with him pre-race as he did bring home the win last week. Looks like Eckert may have just gotten a little too aggressive here coming out of the S's and gets shoved out of the way by the seasoned driver of Ray Ferreira. And Ferreira maybe just saying, hey, kid, listen, get out of the way. This isn't for you right now, as he shoves Ethan Eckert back into 12th position where he had qualified. As we see Jacob Schneider, just like we did in stage 1, all by his lonesome. Now we see Jamie Beasley stepping off track. Beasley here in that yellow number 49, my goodness, it was a log jam. So he had no other place to really go. Now Tony Burt falls victim to possibly the same thing as Tony Burt comes through the arena. And as he comes down the backstretch, it opens up into the safety pin and he just boots it. Laces out, Dan. It's the only way you're going to get through that turn as Jacob Schneider and Mitchell Davies lead the way. 2 seconds now between Schneider and Davies. Alexander Gangler still being gobbled up by a bunch of different cars here. All of a sudden, they're 3 wide down the front stretch, getting ready to come up the hill. This can only mean trouble if they don't sort this out before that turn comes. Ray Ferreira jumping out here to try to get through. And it looks like maybe Gangler overcooked it. He gets tight coming through turn number 1 and sends it down the hill as now he trails Sylvain Joly and Ray Ferreira. Paul Hill registering a crash as well as Stoney Benfield. We'll take a look and see what happened. We see Stoney here just ahead of Paul Hill in the 04. And, Stoney Benfield, you know what, let's just run this back ever so gently because this is something that we don't see very often, but when we do, it usually does not bode well for somebody. Now we can see Stoney coming up the hill here. Actually, I think the blimp cam was the best camera for this. We see all of a sudden Paul Hill getting ready to make the move. He gets around the 43 of Claude Ferland. We see the slow truck, the 66 here of Chris Custer. But Stoney goes to make his entry into 1, doesn't see the 04 and just gets the left rear cleaned out like an old cabinet with your random things and bits and bobs in it. And then he sits there and has nothing to do but wait for Ferland to get on by. So like a sitting duck he is here on lap number 18 as Jacob Schneider, our race leader, takes us through here with now 8 laps to go in stage 2. Stoney Benfield trying to get around Chris Claude. Chris Claude buying the farm here, as we're going to see. That was not fun, Chris, as we get on by. Stoney Benfield recovering from losing control of himself. Then Chris just not able to bring the 10 back under control, slides out of the way. We're going to see if we can maybe get that right from the nose of Chris Claude's machine. And here it is, Chris Claude trying to get his way through here, comes around this next turn and just can't wheel it back in. Ethan Eckert and Tate Hodison still going at it pretty hot and heavy, as we're going to step aside and pay some bills here. But first, before we do that, as we step aside, we want to tip our cap to the Ronald McDonald House and all of the work that they do, especially as we think about John Crow and his 3-year-old daughter tonight at the Ronald McDonald House in Winston-Salem. So, John, you are in our prayers, and folks, please pay attention to this next ad, as the Ronald McDonald House does some incredible work for children's hospitals across the country.
Care. It has motivated us from day one. It's in the meals we make, the hugs we give, and the miles we've traveled. We care for families so they can care for theirs. From our staff and volunteers who provide it every day, to our donors and partners who make it all possible, to the families who've made lifelong connections. Together, we've created a global community of care, one that provides emotional, mental, and financial support for families and their children. And all this care has turned dogs into best friends, long nights into brighter days, moments into milestones, strangers into family. We've built a lot at RMHC. More smiles, more hope, more care. And we plan to build even more. Join us as we celebrate 50 years of RMHC.
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Care. It has motivated us from day one. It's in the meals we make, the hugs we give, and the miles we've traveled. We care for families so they can care for theirs. From our staff and volunteers who provide it every day, to our donors and partners who make it all possible, to the families who've made lifelong connections. Together, we've created a global community of care, one that provides emotional, mental, and financial support for families and their children. And all this care has turned dogs into best friends, long nights into brighter days, moments into milestones, strangers into family. We've built a lot at RMHC. More smiles, more hope, more care. And we plan to build even more. Join us as we celebrate 50 years of RMHC.
Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas here just outside of Austin, Texas. Right now your race leader Jacob Schneider starting to gap by 11 seconds and more over Gabriel Lafreniere and Mitchell Davies, who's back even further, 12.3 seconds to Davies, as Davies right now starting to harass Gabriel Lafreniere here by about 0.8 of a second. Daniel Moynihan, meanwhile, working his way around Ethan Eckert in the 11, gets 10th position away. That'll take a bonus point from Ethan Eckert if they can't get that done as we work lap number 23. 20 to go now, right now, here at Circuit of the Americas, of course, we had two special ads there from the Ronald McDonald House. Of course, we're keeping our thoughts and prayers on John Crow Sr. tonight, of course, one of our drivers here in this league whose daughter is battling a very serious autoimmune disease, and we want to make sure that we keep him in our prayers. And for all of us that are parents out there, you know, just hug your kids a little extra. Let them know that you love them, and you know, let them know that you're never going anywhere for them, as John Crow is side by side with his daughter tonight instead of side by side out here on the racetrack. Some drivers going off track to get caught up on here. Riding along right now with Jamie Beasley out of Sanford, Florida. And here we are at Calamity Corner, and you know, we see this way too often where drivers just come down all kinds of hot, and they don't get through there well enough, as we see Randall Watkins falls victim to the same thing. So a pair of Florida boys here coming into the safety pin turn. We see Miami, Florida's very own. Whoa! Wow! What a stop for Randall Watkins. Of course, Randall, a more than 5-year cancer survivor, is a cancer warrior, and of course retired from the Miami-Dade Fire and Rescue down there in Florida. So really, he is the Tuesday Night NASCAR Truck Series Mr. 305, as we see Chris Custer here as well. Looks like Chris may have bought it coming up the hill out of the start-finish line. Tries to get it. He knows he can't do it, and he's able to, just barely get through there. Daniel Moynihan, same deal here on lap 23. He gets around Ethan Eckert, and then maybe just gets a little too excited as he just overheats it coming into the turn. Takes it too wide, and then, of course, Eckert right there to pounce on him. But don't worry, it didn't last for long, as Moynihan now back in front of Eckert by just 0.4 of a second. 19 to go as we're here on lap number 24, working our way toward 26. Of course, tonight's total lap count going to be 42 when we get to the end. Glad to have everybody with us tonight in the YouTube.com live chat. Vivian Minto keeping an eye on her little boy Brandon. Of course, Brandon driving the number 12 Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Ford F-150. And, you know, listen, it harkens back to when we were all kids. Everybody wanted the blue box macaroni and cheese, so obviously Mom keeping an eye on him. Always good to see, especially when you know, you get to see your boy running up here in 4th position. Jacob Fifield is our biggest mover of the race, plus 16, running in 5th position right now after starting in 21st. 21st right now being held down by Rich Jett in the number 77. He will be our lucky dog this time around. He's only down 1 lap, so that will put him back on the lead lap. But Jacob Schneider just absolutely running a clinic of how to get around Coda tonight, as we're here on lap number 25. Gabriel Lafreniere from St. Jude, he runs in 2nd position. Mitchell Davies in 3rd. Brandon Minto from Norman, Oklahoma in 4th, and Jacob Fifield rounds out your top 5. Watching Mitchell Davies coming through here and into the S's, he's just behind Gabriel Lafreniere and holding off Brandon Minto to the rear. Minto in the 12, starting to harass him just a little bit. Maybe this is where we're finally going to see somebody in the top 4 make a move here, because I got to be honest, folks, they haven't moved. You know, they kind of sunk back during pit cycles under caution, but all of a sudden the top 4 who qualified up there in the top 4 are all running together once again. just looking at where Brandon Minto is, the third, fourth, this is really like a three-way battle for third right now. As Minto sits the meat in this sandwich, he's 6/10 behind Davies and 8/10 ahead of Jacob Fifield. Chris Claude all of a sudden showing up as having crashed. Let's see what happens as Chris Claude comes down the front stretch. Now, once again, we saw this a few moments ago, and does Chris do it? Yeah, oh dear. He manages to get it back under control, but still steps out of line just a little. And all it really takes is, a half an inch of that tire to go onto the grass, and you'll register like that. We look back here at Daniel Moynihan, Paul Hill, and Ethan Eckert, as Eckert right now running in 10th position, holding on to that last bonus point here on lap number 25. And right now, Jacob Schneider crosses the start-finish line. We're on the final lap now of Stage 2. Eckert, Moynihan, and Hill duking it out for 10th position. So they're obviously trying to hold on to things for right now. Maybe we'll even see a little bit more excitement here toward the end of Stage 2. And I'm expecting to see somebody try to make a move. I think it's going to be Moynihan, trying to crawl up there and get that 10th position and that bonus point away from Ethan Eckert. They roll out here onto the front stretch as we look on from the blimp camera, switching back down here to the asphalt. Daniel Moynihan now starts his final lap of the stage, as they're about 4/10 of a lap behind Jacob Schneider. Schneider just absolutely running wild. And all of a sudden, after getting tight coming up the hill in turn 1, Paul Hill able to start to reel in Daniel Moynihan here, as he's less than 2/10 of a second behind Moynihan. That's going to put some gap between Moynihan and Eckert. A moment ago, it was 6/10 of a second from Moynihan to Eckert. Now it's getting even closer, as they're now at 4/10 of a second, a half back to Paul Hill. They come up toward turn number 10, and we're going to see Jacob Schneider momentarily take the green and white checkered flag for the second time tonight. He'll be followed by Gabriel Lafreniere, all things being equal, if you will. This group here running just all but 6/10 of a second apart from one another. It's almost a full second from Eckert back to Hill, with Moynihan in the middle. All of a sudden, Hill looks to make the move here under Ethan Eckert. He secures away 11th position from Moynihan. That puts Moynihan in 12th. Now Paul Hill trying to drive the wheels off of the Silverados. He chases down Ethan Eckert. They are running around like a couple of squirrels chasing the same nut in the backyard, as Paul Hill tries to chase down Ethan Eckert. He's holding off Daniel Moynihan. I swear it looks like a pair of squirrels I saw at work just the other day, as Eckert wheels his way back toward the front stretch. And just as I say that, Jacob Schneider crosses the start-finish line here. He'll be followed by Gabriel Lafreniere, Mitchell Davies, Brandon Minto, Jacob Fifield, Nicholas Casey, Tane Hodison, Ray Ferreira, Sylvain Joly, and Ethan Eckert comes out of the final turn now. He still has that 10th position. The caution flies, and Ethan Eckert going to round out your top 10. He'll be awarded a bonus point. Paul Hill and Daniel Moynihan looking from just outside that bubble, as now we're going to have to get all the way around the racetrack. Jacob Schneider here on lap number 27, 16 laps to go, captures the checkered flag here at COTA for the second time this evening. Hey, Jacob, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Got you, Dave.
Hey, man, listen, second time we get to chat tonight. You've swept the first 2 stages. You look poised to sweep the entire race. Obviously, the O2 is dialed in just perfect. You mentioned that a little while ago, having the Ryko GG setup. What are you thinking coming into 3? It looked like there was a battle heating up behind you, but they just don't have enough to get up to you.
Yeah, that looked like it was pretty fun back there for a second on that restart. I was a little concerned about getting caught up in it, but yeah, keeping it clean, got a good restart. Gonna have to do that again.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, how key these restarts are going to be, and you managed to hold yourself just this side of perfect as you come out of the final turn here and onto the front stretch. Now, of course, stage 3 also going to be a little bit shorter due to the caution laps. So does that give you enough time to kind of relax and get the elbows down and maybe stretch for a second?
Yeah, it's a pretty mentally demanding track, even out here by myself. So these brakes are actually pretty nice. It'd have been rough doing 42 laps straight.
Yeah, that's something that I see so often. And don't get me wrong, 42 laps straight's nice, at least for those of us up in the broadcast booth. You get to go to bed a little bit earlier. But at the same time, it also puts you way ahead of everybody else. I mean, right now, not that many cars down a lap. I mean, Rich Jack going to be the lucky dog, so he's going to have to come around and chase everybody. But, you've managed to keep it competitive even while you were running alone. How does that feel to be out there kind of all by your lonesome?
It's kind of easy to zone out. I've had a couple bobbles that'll wake me up. Fortunately, just small bobbles. That'll get me refocused for about 5 more laps until I do it again. Yeah, I feel pretty good. Not getting too tired yet. It's not too late yet.
Hey, man, listen, I get it. Some of us, at least, after a 10 and 12-hour day, you slide in here to the broadcast booth or into the racing rig, and sometimes it's taxing. So congratulations, man, on the Stage 2 win. And something tells me we're going to be chatting at the end of Stage 3.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
All right, brother. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yep. Thank you, Dave.
We're going to get a chance now to speak with Daniel Moynihan, who is in that battle with his teammate, Ethan Eckert. Hey, Daniel, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, you had quite a battle going on with Ethan Eckert toward the end of that stage. Take us through that and how stressful that can be, when you're just trying to get that 10th spot.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty stressful. I mean, we were kind of talking back and forth, and we finally decided that he needed the stage points more than I did. So at some point, I just kind of let him do his thing. But, it's kind of weird.
Teammate right there.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm a team player. What can I say? But it is a little stressful because, I'm trying to defend my teammate from the guy attacking behind. And, he's faster in some parts and I'm faster in some parts. So, we'll end up just kind of, spacing out and coming back together at completely different points in the track. So, it's a little difficult to, defend but also not take out my teammate who's trying to get stage points.
Hey, man, listen, I get it. I mean, I used to make the joke when I was on that team, hey, listen, if you want to get around me, you got to fight to get around me. And most of the time I just rolled over and said, you know what, it's yours. There's no way I'm not competitive enough. So at least you were able to step aside and be a good teammate. So good deal on that. Well, listen, as we go in here to Stage 3, what's going to be the strategy to get yourself deeper into that top 10?
I've honestly been really struggling on the exits of all of these turns. The rear end of the truck gets really loose on the exits if you're not really smooth with it. So I think I'm just going to focus on being really smooth. I mean, around the whole track, but, smooth but efficient.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congrats here on where you've climbed your way up so far. And, hey, listen, maybe something good's going to come out of this for the Duncan 53.
I'm hoping. I'm praying.
All right, man. Good luck the rest of the way, bro.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Going to send him back on up into the Joe Gibbs Racing stable. We've talked to just about everyone in there except for Tane Hodison tonight. We'll get to that eventually, I'm sure, as just trying to poke through here and see some of these other drivers. In fact, we're going to get a chance to talk to Alexander Gangler when he completes his pit service here, as this is the first time down pit road for Alexander Gangler out of Big Rock, Illinois, as Gangler pulls in there. What in the world? Where did he go? There he is. Hey, Gangler, it's Regal. You got me?
Yeah, I do.
First off, you've got a little bit of a connection issue there. You're the only truck blinking on pit road as soon as I click on you, dang it. But listen, you stayed out the last time. You managed to stay out here since lap 9. How is that truck feeling after such a long time on those tires?
Oh, it's feeling pretty good. I mean, the rear tires are absolutely cooked now after running, I don't know how many laps, but it's going to be an issue, I think, for me later in the race. But other than that, it's feeling great.
Hey, man, listen, kudos to you for being able to keep it moving forward that long. Now, it looks like you're stuck on pit road a little bit longer. There you go. Get off of there and get things moving. I mean, a long pit stop you had. What was going on there?
Got a little bit of damage we wanted to get repaired from earlier on in the race. I got rear-ended by someone there on that restart. I just want to make sure that it all got repaired because I thought that might be part of my issues.
Well, you've got the number 8 cranked up and looking fine tonight, that's for sure. You've done a heck of a job getting to this point. So, congrats, man. I'm going to grab your teammate, and good luck the rest of the way, bro.
Have a good one, Dave.
That, of course, the voice of former race control extraordinaire, Mr. Alexander Gangler, as we get him back up into the Bandit Racing Bowl. And we're now going to get a hold of, oh, there he is, my brother from another mother, Mr. Randall Watkins, Mr. 305 here in the TNN Truck Series. Hey, Randall, it's Dave. You got me?
I got you, man.
Hey, listen, great news from you today, of course, getting the old cast off as the orthopod releases you from that. How are you feeling now in the cockpit tonight?
A whole heck of a lot better now that I have no extra appendage on my left side.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough when you've got all that extra weight over there. I mean, trying to drive, pseudo-handicapped is no fun, I'm sure. What's been your strategy so far tonight, as you're now back here with teammate Alexander Gangler?
Basically to stay out of trouble and finish this race for once. It's just been, road courses aren't my real specialty unless I'm in an open wheel car or GT. I just don't race NASCARs that much in them to get that good at it. I guess I should practice more.
We could all use a little bit more practice, but we come to these places so infrequently that it's hard to find enough time to dedicate to that. When out of a 32 race season, you only have 4 road courses. So
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, it's hard to do that when, like you said, you don't run it that much, and I mostly concentrate on the bigger tracks. I don't really waste a lot of time on road courses because I consider that like kind of a throwaway race.
Throwaway race, wild card race, trust me, I get it. I mean, road courses fall into the same category that super speedways do because you're either good at them or you're not. And, sometimes I think it's better when you say to yourself, you know what, I'm not. I'm just going to get through this thing and focus on next week. And, of course, next week we're going short track racing at Richmond. What are you feeling with Richmond on the horizon?
If I can get my left foot back to, which is what I'm practicing tonight, and using a lot more left foot braking during this race to get ready for next week, because I haven't been able to do that, and I need to get this back in the action more or less.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congrats for where you are tonight. Glad that you're back to being a whole person once again. And hey, listen, I'm excited to see you next week once we hit the ovals again.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, my brother. Good luck.
Thank you. I'm going to need
it. We all do, trust me, as we send him back on up into Bandit Racing's race chat. So, checking in with many of these drivers tonight, we get a chance to do that because of how long these pace laps are. Now, Richard Pruitt going to be our race leader when we go green again. Looks like we've got one lap to green now as Pruitt came in on lap 23. He's going to start alongside of Jacob Schneider. So with these scheduled cautions, at least, for many of these drivers, that's going to put them in a great position, to try to shuffle themselves around. It's going to be Pruitt, Schneider, Lafreniere, Davies, Fifield, Minto, Hodison, Ferreira, Casey, and Ethan Eckert, your top 10 when we go back green flag racing. So, folks, this is finally, where we've gotten after working so hard all night long. And one last person we want to check in with is Ray Ferreira. Hey, Mr. Ferreira, how we doing tonight?
We're doing all right. Just trying to survive.
That's the name of the game, man. Listen, you're surviving and thriving up here in 8th position. How's the truck feeling, and what are you thinking here in Stage 3?
My only goal is to come away with the top 10. I'm not much of a road course racer, but we seem to be doing all right. Setup's pretty good. Hoping get a nice run for Jacob Fifield. He's pretty quick out here.
All right, my man. Well, listen, I just wanted to check in with you. Good luck the rest of the way as, I know that it's going to be 12 to go when we go back green flag racing. So not a whole lot of time left, but still plenty of time for bad things to happen. So go ahead and try to keep that thing moving forward as looks like, you and I believe you're up there in the Grease Monkey Motorsports stable.
Nope. Gorilla Gas.
Gorilla Gas. Sorry about
Blackhawk.
that.
I think it's Blackhawk in here, but we're Gorilla Gas setups.
Yep, there it is. I know that you and teammates Nicholas Casey and Jacob Fifield have been fighting it out all night long, and I'm excited to see you and Fifield go at it the way that you are, and of course Casey coming along as well. It's definitely a long night here on the road course.
Yeah, it's definitely been it's been tough so far, but we're doing all right, and just need to get points tonight and not get wrecked this week like we did last week in the rest of the races before.
I get it, man. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way. Maybe we'll see you on the other side. You never know.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, sirs. We're going to move him back on up to Blackhawk Motorsports. And we're getting ready to go back green flag racing here on Sim Racing Media. You're watching Tuesday Night NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action right here on Sim Racing Media. Dave Regal at the microphone as always. As I have been every step of the way since last season when we moved this league here onto Sim Racing Media. Of course, now all 3 series here in the SNN family of racing series on Sim Racing Media. So, of course, Sunday nights belong to Cup Series action in primetime. Monday nights at 8:30 we go live for Xfinity. And, of course, as we did tonight, 8:30 p.m. on Tuesdays for Truck Series action. Of course, the Truck Series is one of the hardest ones to try to gauge only because, there's so many off weeks built into the season. So, you try not to, let's just say, forget about it. As we look at the schedule, of course, next week we're going to go to, next week we are off on Tuesday night. Then the following week we go to Martinsville, then Texas Motor Speedway, then 2 weeks off at the end of April, and then we come back for 5 races in a row from May 7th through June 4th. And we're going to cover Kansas, Darlington, North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race, and, of course, Charlotte Motor Speedway. The iRacing.com pace car is out. Richard Pruitt leads us back to the start-finish line. The green flag is up in the air. It drops, and we are underway. Richard Pruitt leading this field up the hill and into turn 1. He gets himself perfectly lined up here. Don't look now, though. Jacob Schneider takes turn 2 a little wide, but now uses that momentum to get himself right back in front of Richard Pruitt. And Jacob Schneider wastes no time at all getting back up here into the lead. Claude Ferland stepping off track. We can only imagine that this is up here coming through. There's the 43 stepping off track just a little bit. Oh my. As it looks like maybe Alexander Gangler having another issue here. We'll take a peek as he was holding on to it for dear life. Claude Ferland jumping to the pits early as that opens the door for Randall Watkins to take P21 away. Quite a knot of cars here with Daniel Moynihan right in the middle of everything. We're taking a look here from high above. Moynihan in the 53. Some bumping and banging from the 93 and the 6. And now Ethan Eckert gets in here to dance. This can only mean trouble if they don't get themselves separated. It shoves Moynihan out of the way. The 86 of Nicholas Casey able to reel it back in. All of a sudden, Casey nearly takes out teammate Ray Ferreira. And Ferreira manages to get himself all nice and single file once again behind Ethan Eckert. So obviously he's got that one figured out, and now he knows where he can go, at least not to be taken out of this race. Riding along with Daniel Moynihan, the 6 car of Ray Ferreira steps to the left to give Moynihan a little bit of space, and Ferreira tries to set himself up to get through turn 1, and wow, it forces Moynihan to swing that thing wide as if he's a tractor-trailer backing into the loading dock. Ray Ferreira looking to move in here on Sylvain Joly, working with 11 laps left here in this race. Ferreira really starting to close in on Joly. I wouldn't say he's going to throw the hairnet on and serve him lunch, but he's definitely putting the table settings together here for the tray as they come down the backstretch toward the safety pin turn. Looks like maybe Moynihan going to see if he can set himself up to get around. Moynihan not able to seal the deal that time. He's going to have to continue to match Joly. Joly running in 11th position right now. Teammate Ray Ferreira runs in 10th behind Nicholas Casey. Ethan Eckert, who's Moynihan's teammate, all the way up to 8th position right now. So plenty of movement here from the Joe Gibbs and Blackhawk Racing teams. As we take a peek here at Ray Ferreira, and now all the way up here to Ethan Eckert, who leads the 86 of Nicholas Casey. They're duking it out hard here going down the back chute. We see Tane Hodison now in the 93, just behind Minto at about a half second, starting to harass Minto ever so slightly with now 10 laps to go. You're watching the Tuesday Night NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series live here on Sim Racing Media. Dave Regal in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. Glad to have you with us this evening. Thank you for tuning in and spending part of your night with us. We absolutely love everybody who's checking in. Make sure that if you are watching us on YouTube, that you comment in the youtube.com live chat. Let us know who you're pulling for, what you're watching for on tonight's race. And of course, make sure that you subscribe and turn on those bell notifications so that every time we go live on SRM, you get notified and you can tune on in. Tane Hodison in the 93 leading Ethan Eckert and Nicholas Casey. Here with 10 laps to go, Jacob Schneider on lap number 33, starting to gap Mitchell Davies by a good healthy bit here. 6.4 seconds. Everything starting to tighten up deeper in the field, though, as we take a look at Jacob Fifield just behind Gabriel Lafreniere from St. Jude. And he's got a rearview mirror full of Paul Hill in the 04, and Paul has been getting the Gorilla Gas machine all kinds of cranked up. He's trying to get up there to teammate Jacob Fifield, as Fifield and he from the Gorilla Gas team trying to get around our neighbor from the north, Gabriel Lafreniere, in the 06 Oxmoor F-150. We can see the gap not just by time, but by physically looking at this. It's absolutely tight here as they come into the into that first hairpin. All of a sudden, the 04 backing off, as maybe he's got to cool those rear tires down as we head up the front stretch, up the hill here toward turn number 1. All of a sudden, Fifield looks to the inside of Lafreniere. Lafreniere says, "Not so fast, my friend," like Lee Corso tells us every Saturday on ESPN during the fall. And Lafreniere holding his own, but all of a sudden we see Hill looking here to the left side now of Lafreniere. He's trying to get himself there. They almost make contact coming through the S's. That allows the door to open back up for Paul Hill to get involved in this battle. We can see these three trucks holding one another off. Paul Hill now getting ready to shoot the inside and steal that position away from Fifield. This is a battle for fourth, and it all of a sudden Hill tightens up like crazy and has to back off once again. Jacob Schneider, your race leader now, with an 8-second gap over top of Mitchell Davies, who's got 1.3 seconds back to Gabriel Lafreniere. Closest battle on the racetrack right now is Tane Hodison and Paul Hill. As we can see, Hodison trying to hold off Paul Hill in the 04. Now they go side by side. They're just behind Brandon Minto. Minto not even fazed by this. He figures, go ahead, fellas. You go ahead and fight it out there in the back seat while I run this thing forward and try to put more space between Hodison and him. But Paul Hill going to be an absolute menace to Tane Hodison as he is all over the tailgate of the 93. And one final time tonight with 9 laps to go, we're going to step aside and pay some bills here on Sim Race Media. We want to thank you for making us a part of your evening. I'm Dave Riegel, and we'll be right back.
Care. It has motivated us from day one. It's in the meals we make, the hugs we give, and the miles we've traveled. We care for families so they can care for theirs. From our staff and volunteers who provide it every day, to our donors and partners who make it all possible, to the families who've made lifelong connections. Together, we've created a global community of care. One that provides emotional, mental, and financial support for families and their children. And all this care has turned dogs into best friends, long nights into brighter days, moments into milestones, strangers into family. We've built a lot at RMHC. More smiles, more hope, more care. And we plan to build even more. Join us as we celebrate 50 years of RMHC.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Masker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Apromitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler, or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Care. It has motivated us from day one. It's in the meals we make, the hugs we give, and the miles we've traveled. We care for families so they can care for theirs. From our staff and volunteers who provide it every day, to our donors and partners who make it all possible, to the families who've made lifelong connections. Together, we've created a global community of care, one that provides emotional, mental, and financial support for families and their children. And all this care has turned dogs into best friends, long nights into brighter days, moments into milestones, strangers into family. We've built a lot at RMHC. More smiles, more hope, more care. And we plan to build even more. Join us as we celebrate 50 years of RMHC.
Welcome back to Austin, Texas, here at Circuit of the Americas. Dave Regal in the Tony Trapassa Memorial Broadcast booth. 5 laps to go now in the Tuesday Night NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, as Jacob Schneider has just been dominant all night long. He swept the first 2 stages. We're here in stage 3, and he's already up 18.4 seconds. Jacob Fifield just trying to run out here and be as competitive as possible behind Gabriel Lafreniere, trying to get his way onto the podium tonight. And I would say, as long as Fifield's holding back just enough, he should be able to get up there and give Lafreniere a good run for his money here with 5 to go. As we see Paul Hill here just a half second ahead of Nicholas Casey, and Casey in the 86 kind of lurking as well. So a lot of the drivers that I feel like have been holding back some things tonight are really starting to come in here and put that final twist here onto the end of the race. 4 laps to go from COTA, as of course Austin, Texas, also the state capital of Austin. Of course, a lot to see here. Of course, the Congress Avenue Bridge, Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, all kinds of stuff, the Paramount Theater, and of course the state capitol in downtown Austin. And something that I came across a little while ago, and I hope to goodness, yes, of course, I just lost it. They were doing some work over at North Wilkesboro in North Carolina in preparation for, of course, the All-Star event in May. And they discovered a possible underground sinkhole that may have formed basically when there was a still running under the front stretch there at North Wilkesboro. In fact, I'm going to try to find where that story originated. And of course now I can't make it move fast enough. Here it is, right here on jski.com, being credited with this. And basically, under some of the steps there in the stands, they unearthed what was rumored to be a moonshine cave. For decades, rumors had circulated that historic North Wilkesboro Speedway was the site of a secret moonshine still, and some of the Wilkes County locals have more reasons to say that they told us so, with 3 laps to go here. But during the process of getting the seats and some of the steps worked on for All-Star Weekend, an area of approximately 700 square feet was discovered underneath the aging concrete, which, they've heard about these things, and they don't know how people would have gotten in and out, but, they've already had to remove 600 seats from sections N and O, and the SMI staff are evaluating the next steps for the foundation repair. So it's going to be a pretty big deal there in North Wilkesboro. And, just a little bit of a backstory on North Wilkesboro. After opening in 1947, North Wilkesboro Speedway became one of NASCAR's original racetracks when it hosted the season finale for the inaugural Strictly Stock, which is now known as the Cup Series, in 1949. The .0625-mile short track hosted NASCAR races until it closed in 1996. And following the extensive restoration that we saw back in 2022, it has hosted the All-Star race since May of 2023. And I'll tell you what, it was really interesting to see the All-Star race there, as we're still 3 laps to go here at COTA. And I believe that NASCAR, probably better than almost any other sport, takes care of their history. They've got some great curators down there at the Hall of Fame in Charlotte. They have great ambassadors for the sport. Of course, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Richard Petty, people like that. I mean, to have the last name of Earnhardt or Petty, that's a lot of pressure on you to take care of the history that, I think that this sport offers. Because, in other sports, yes, we have very defined history, such as the founding of the National Football League. The popsicle sticks are in the air. We're 2 laps to go here at COTA. But, something that I thought was interesting was to learn about the defined history of NASCAR, where before, we had organized racetracks and series and points and the whole 9 yards, yada, yada, yada. It was kind of, hazy of, well, how did this come about? You can actually find books now, which I think NASCAR has done a great job, getting the information out there and getting it published and letting us know where we come from, because without knowing where you've come from, you have no idea where you're going. And this sport has done nothing but be exciting, since 1949. And before, of course, during the Prohibition era, the Moonshine Runners, so on and so forth, souping up their V8s and V6s to stay away from the police down there in the South. But, and nobody could have imagined then what we would have now, the massive corporate influence that we see in NASCAR, all of the sponsors and things like that, drivers that have media appearances and so on and so forth. Ethan Eckert showing up as having wrecked. Let's see what happened. He just fell out of the top 10. Eckert coming to the top of the hill for turn number 1 just overheats that rear end. He's able to drift it around and make the turn just ahead of Stoney Benfield, but kind of a Code Brown moment for Eckert, who currently runs in 11th position. But, in baseball, we aren't sure. We know that it wasn't really Abner Doubleday just dreaming in a field in Cooperstown, New York. I mean, that was really nice for some poetry, but it's not accurate. In football, of course, the NFL being discovered in Canton, not discovered, but organized in Canton, Ohio at a Hupmobile dealership. In fact, you can check that out over on Peyton's Places on ESPN Plus after tonight's race. But NASCAR just had such an organic upbringing, and the history of this sport is incredible to study. And it's been so well documented over the decades. As the popsicle sticks go down, the white flag is in the air, and we are racing back to checkers. Jacob Schneider carrying the torch, tonight here. If you think about it, as we talk about the history of NASCAR, it starts so organically in the Southeast, and here we are talking about virtual NASCAR, more than 75 years later at this point. And, I think some of the benefit that we have here on the iRacing.com servers is that the sport, yes, gives us a lot of the data that we use to make these races as realistic as possible, but at the same time, the sport also is fed from. This is almost a direct pipeline to some of the biggest names in motorsports. I mean, some of our biggest and brightest stars in the NASCAR circuit, have accounts right here on iRacing.com. Some of them we've even seen right here on TNN in the form of Trevor Bayne. Monday Night NASCAR has hosted Ricky Carmichael multiple times. So thinking that way, it just feels like NASCAR is going to continue to make a digital turn moving forward. And I think that as long as NASCAR continues, to endorse what they have and sponsor what they have on iRacing.com, I think we're going to see a more symbiotic relationship between the two, as Jacob Schneider, with a quarter lap to go, leads by 25 seconds over Mitchell Davies. I had to double check that. 25 seconds over Mitchell Davies, another 25 seconds back to Gabriel Lafreniere, as Lafreniere and Davies are still duking it out here to determine who's going to be on the second step of the podium and who's going to be on the first step of the podium. As mentioned, whoa! Gabriel Lafreniere nearly stepping out as Jacob Schneider comes down the front stretch to make that final turn there. He wheels the O2 out of the final turn. He can see the start-finish line in the crosshairs. Jacob Schneider crosses the start-finish line and wins here in the SNN Truck Series event at Circuit of the Americas. Coming across the line is Gabriel Lafreniere and Mitchell Davies. They will join Schneider on the podium tonight as they go 1, 2, 3 after 42 laps in the Truck Series. We're going to get a hold of Mr. Schneider now, as we're going to hop right on up here into his race chat. Hey, Jacob, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
I got you, Dave.
Man, listen, you swept everything tonight here at COTA. You get the pole position. You wind up sweeping stages 1 and 2. All you've seen on your screen is P1. How does that feel, coming in here to the road course?
I was kind of relying on that a little bit. I know I'm a bit of a ringer. Hadn't had a great points here so far in this league, so I was hoping to win one tonight and lock myself into the playoffs. Just got to stay top 30 in points now.
Absolutely. Now, with that win under your belt, of course, staying in the top 30 is a little bit easier. But with that punch of the ticket into the playoffs, what does that do for your perspective moving deeper into the season? Does that make you stay aggressive, or does that make you maybe cool off a little bit so that you don't, get into too much trouble?
I'm pretty confident I can stay top 30 in points, so I think I'll be more aggressive going for stage wins and race wins to bring some playoff points with me to the playoffs.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, it's been an incredible night for you here on the racetrack as you let the truck cool down. But before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for this run tonight?
I got to thank Ken Byron, Brennan Hawk, everybody at Ryko. They built some killer setups. And got to thank my family, my wife, everybody that supports me. Thank you guys for broadcasting this too.
Hey, listen, I appreciate that very much. Trust me, we love calling the race just as much as you love racing in it. So congrats, my friend, and we will see you next week at Richmond.
All right. Have a good night.
You do the same, as we're going to hop back on down to the broadcast booth. We're going to get a hold of Gabriel Lafreniere. And Gabriel Lafreniere finishes P2 tonight on the podium. Hey, Gabriel, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, I got you.
Well, my friend, you get on the podium this season once again here from St. Jude, and I'll tell you what, you raced a heck of a race tonight, but just couldn't catch Jacob Schneider. What was it like out there trying to chase him down?
It was so fast. Since I saw his super fast lap, just focus on my pace, my second place. And I was a nice battle at the end, so yes, focus on my second place.
Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting when you get to battle somebody out. I know that it must be weird for the race leader to be out there all by his lonesome, especially gapping you by 20 seconds. I mean, you traditionally do very well at the road courses, but next week we go short track racing at Richmond. How are you feeling about going short track racing and heading back to the ovals?
At Richmond, it was one of my best tracks, so I'm confident. I will fight for top 5. I hope top 5. So yeah.
Well, that's definitely one of the biggest things that we can hope for sure. So, good for you as far as getting the Oxmoor F-150 across the start-finish line second tonight. Before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for this run?
Thanks to my teammates Sylvain and Claude, my sponsor Oxmoor, and Chris, Claude, and you for the league, the broadcasts. Really nice.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, and we will see you next week at Richmond.
Thanks. Good night.
And good night to him as well as we get ready to wrap things up here. It's been an exciting night, an exciting week, really, of racing here at Circuit of the Americas in the Truck Series, the Xfinity, and the Cup Series, as they all were here this week. So, something always exciting here in the Tuesday Night NASCAR Truck Series. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And before we get out of here, we want to, of course, look at our final race results from Circuit of the Americas. Jacob Schneider comes home with the checkered flag in tow. He's joined on the podium by Gabriel Lafreniere and Mitchell Davies. Jacob Fifield and Nicholas Casey come home and round out your top 5, while Tane Hodison, Paul Hill, Brandon Minto, Sylvain Jolie, and Daniel Moynihan round out the rest of your top 10. The best of the rest start with Ethan Eckert in 11th position, followed by the faster Pastor Stoney Benfield. John Wilco comes home in 13th position, while Jamie T. Beasley brings 14th position honors as well. Alexander Gangler in 15th with Rich Jett, Richard Pruitt, and Ron Fitting down through 18th position. We look at the top 20 here. Chris Claude and Randall Watkins round that out, while Ray Ferreira, Claude Ferlin, and Chris Custer finished 21st through 23rd. Benjamin Garrity and Tony Burt finished 24th and 25th, while Nicholas Breidenbach and Gregory Vallad bring home 26th and 27th. 28th and last in the field tonight belongs to Steve Herring. Somebody has to do it, and unfortunately tonight it was Steve, just 6 laps in before putting it on the hauler, so a short night for him. And believe me, folks, I know that this place is no picnic to get around, so Steve Herring might have had the easiest way out tonight and just hit that tow button. But, a great race tonight, a great race week here in the SNN Family of Racing Series. Right here, we will see you back again on Sunday night when you tune in for Cup Series action at 7:30 Eastern Time. Thank you once again for joining us. I'm Dave Regal here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, reminding you that as you walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.